Welcome back to CrimeBot Chronicle, where the shadows talk and the truth cuts deep. If you're into real stories about the darkest corners of the criminal world, betrayal, power, and secrets they don't want you to know, then you're in the right place. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because in this world, information is power, and you don't want to miss what we uncover next. Now buckle up. What you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's a warning. This is uncovering the secret of organized crime. Let's begin. It started with a whisper. One of those gritty, back-alley murmurs that most folks would shrug off after a few beers. But not Jake Torres. He heard it at a dive bar in South Chicago. A bartender said something about trucks filled with unmarked bills and bodies never seen again. Jake wasn't looking for trouble, but when you've seen what he's seen, your gut doesn't lie. Jake used to be a cop. Not your average patrol guy. He was deep in vice, undercover work. Knew the streets like the back of his hand. But things went sideways fast. A sting gone wrong. A partner who took a bullet. And a department that hung Jake out to dry. He turned in his badge, picked up a bottle, and fell off the grid for a while. But that whisper? It was like a match dropped in gasoline. He started poking around. Quiet at first. Didn't want to make noise. A closed-down butcher shop still had its electricity running. A florist that got daily shipments at 3 a.m. Then he got a call. A blocked number. A woman's voice, shaky, scared like she was holding back tears. They're moving girls through the docks. I saw 'em. I know what they do to the ones who talk. Jake tried to calm her down, asked for her name, but all she said was, "If I disappear, it was them." The next night, Jake tailed a truck leaving the docks. No plates. Blacked out windows. He followed at a distance, kept the lights low. The truck pulled into a warehouse near the industrial district. Unmarked. No security signs, but definitely watched. Jake snapped pics from an old maintenance ladder nearby. That's when he saw her. The same woman from the call. He didn't even know her name, but the fear in her eyes matched her voice. She was dressed like staff, clipboard, uniform, but she was scanning the shadows like a prisoner planning a jailbreak. He lifted his camera to snap her photo. Then the world went black. They'd been watching. Jake came to in the back of the truck he'd been tailing. Arms zip-tied. Blood in his mouth. His head was pounding like a war drum. A man leaned in, cigar smoke curling around his face. Gold tooth. Greasy hair. Smiled like a shark. "Wrong place, wrong time, friend," he said. "Retired cops should stay retired." Jake, dazed, just muttered, "Tell your boss, I'm coming for him." The man chuckled. "He already knows your name." They dumped him in an alley on the west side like yesterday's garbage. Jake could have walked away. Could have taken that beating as a final warning. But that's not who he was. He limped home, patched himself up, poured whiskey over his busted knuckles, and started pulling files from an old lockbox under his floor. These were files the force never wanted to see daylight. Stuff he'd saved. Stuff he wasn't supposed to keep. One name stood out, Marco DeLuca. The DeLuca family had been Chicago royalty in the underworld since Prohibition. But Marco? He'd taken it to a whole new level. Slicker than his father. Meaner than his brothers. Marco dressed like a Wall Street exec, but his hands were covered in blood. Drugs, weapons, racketeering, human trafficking, you name it, he profited off it. Jake started reaching out to old contacts. Most hung up. One, a former DA analyst, told him flat out, "Marco's untouchable, man. Cops, judges, city council, he's got 'em all on a leash." Jake needed someone inside. That's when he thought of Mia. Mia Castillo had a history with Marco. She used to dance at one of his clubs. Smart, tough, and had vanished 2 years ago after she refused to mule drugs for him. Jake tracked her down to a shelter under a fake name. She looked rough, skinny, bruised soul, but her eyes, still sharp. "You back on your white knight *T, Jake?" she asked. "I need someone he trusts. Just enough to get close. Get me names, faces, recordings." She stared at him for a long minute, then nodded. "If I help you, I walk away clean. I disappear. You get what you need, but I'm gone after. No questions." "Deal." Mia got a job at the Velvet Claw, one of Marco's main clubs. Said she was crawling back for another shot. It worked. Within 2 weeks, she was back serving VIPs and overhearing things she shouldn't. Every night, she wore a mic Jake rigged into her earrings. Jake listened in real time, headphones on, cigarette burning to the filter. She recorded drug deals disguised as bottle service. Conversations about moving merchandise, meeting people, bribes passed in bathrooms. Even Marco himself, laughing about how the mayor owes me his F***kin career. Then one night, silence. Mia didn't check in. Jake waited. 1 hour. Nothing. He drove to the club. It was closed. Not just closed, shut down like it had never existed. Windows blacked out. Guards gone. Jake knew the look. She was gone. 3 days later, a package arrived at his office. No note. Just a USB drive and a napkin soaked in blood. The footage? Grainy, but clear enough. Marco in his office. Mia in the background, her face bruised, pleading. Marco slamming the door. Then 2 men dragging her away, her screams muffled by duct tape. Jake almost put a bullet through his own mirror. Instead, he went to the feds. Dropped everything. The drive. The audio. His notes. Everything. The lead agent, a guy named Jacobs, looked serious. Too serious. We've had our eye on Marco for years. But this gives us teeth. Then bite, Jake growled. But something felt off. The next week, the raids were weak. Warehouses were already cleared. Offices scrubbed. Like they knew the feds were coming. Jake smelled a rat. He did a deep dive on Agent Jacobs. Clean record. Perfect, in fact, too perfect. Found out Jacobs used to be internal security for a logistics firm, one tied to Marco's shell companies. Conflict of interest? Much? Jake confronted him outside the courthouse. You tipped him off, Jake said. You sold out my friend. Jacobs didn't deny it, just stared back cold. You really think taking Marco down ends anything? You kill one snake, 10 more crawl out of the pit. I'm just surviving. Jake clocked him with 1 punch and walked away. If the system was rotten, he'd go outside of it. He followed every lead, every scrap of data Mia had collected. Eventually, it led him to an abandoned mental hospital out in the countryside. Jake went in solo. Quiet. Found Mia in the basement, handcuffed to a bed, barely alive. You came, she whispered, her voice dry as ash. I said I wouldn't leave you, Jake replied, breaking the cuffs with a bolt cutter. They burned the place down behind them. With Mia safe and in hiding, Jake went full scorched earth. Leaked all the footage online. Airdropped files to major networks. Exposed Jacobs, Marco, the whole corrupt mess. It lit a fire. Marco went underground, but the feds, now under pressure, finally moved for real. Over 80 arrests. Senators grilled. Bank accounts frozen. RICO charges like thunderclaps. But Marco? He vanished. Just smoke. Months passed. Then Jake got another package. No return address. Inside was Marco's Black Lion ring. And a note. You think this is over? I'm just changing clothes. Jake stared out the window. Chicago still buzzed. Sirens, smog, secrets. The city doesn't sleep. It just pretends. Organized crime ain't what it used to be. It's not just gangsters with Tommy guns anymore. It's tech geniuses laundering crypto. Lawyers hiding shell core. Influencers running scams. But one thing never changes. Power feeds on silence. And as long as someone's willing to break that silence, no matter the cost, there's still a chance for truth. Just a chance. But sometimes, that's enough. That was just one crack in the concrete wall of organized crime. And as you've seen, it runs deeper than most dare to admit. If this story had you on edge, if it made you question who's really pulling the strings, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear what you think really happened to Marco DeLuca, and if justice was truly served. And don't forget to subscribe to CrimeBot Chronicle, where every case peels back another layer of truth, one secret at a time. Until next time, stay alert. Because monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes, they run the city.